So it's all to play for still.
I think so. Do you want to bet against us?
Hello, everybody, and welcome to For the Love of Paul McGrath podcast. And let me take down that background there. But we are back, Seth and Paddy, and we wanted to pop on. We took a few days off. Pretty hectic week last week from the old podcast. It's actually been pretty hectic 2 weeks. So we took a few days off over the weekend, and we're going to be back over the next couple of days with a couple of podcasts. Definitely we'll start with English again. Maybe I do need more rest. I need more rest. Definitely one podcast per day this week, and potentially if anything breaks, obviously we will be back. We will talk about that as well. But we're going to do a little bit of a series, and instead of doing a one podcast review on how the season went, we're going to actually break it down into three separate areas, looking at the defensive, a defensive review, midfield review, and a strikers review. And also what we have is we have some guests coming on, and we have somebody coming on for the midfield review tomorrow, and also somebody coming on for the striking review on Thursday. So it'd be absolutely over the moon if you guys could join us for those as well. But today we have Paddy. And Paddy is going to, as I said, Paddy, there was some news, should I say, today that kind of broke that we want to talk about first. And it looks like one part of the backroom team, the cog in the backroom team, seems like he's going to be potentially moving on. Looks like Mick Beale, or Mick Beale as he's known, looks like he's going to be making the move to London, back to London, because he did coach at Charlton for a period of time, but looks like he's going to be moving back to London to take over QPR. What's the feelings on that, Paddy?
Well, I'm a bit disappointed, really. We're led to believe that Mick Beale is the engine room behind all the thoughts of all the tactics and work that goes on in the training ground. So, we go back to last summer when we lost JT, then we lost Richard O'Kelly. Everything was all over the shop. So, I'm glad that this has been done early, if it's going to be done, which gives a little bit of time to sort out where we go from here. A lot of speculation of who's coming in already, including Xabi Alonso, which Steven Gerrard said in his book that he would love to work with Xabi Alonso as Liverpool manager. So who knows? Plus, it's not guaranteed. It's not a done deal just yet. But my heart is telling me it looks like it'll happen. But as I said, we have time. It's not the end of the world, and it's not quite as bad as it was last year.
Yeah, I suppose really the fact that it's John Percy and a couple of more people that are reporting this, people who have been right with a lot of things in the past and been right with a lot of things Aston Villa wise in the past. Also, I suppose you got to really look into Steven Gerrard's comments previously, where I don't know, I think he kind of got a small bit thorny when he was asked a question directly about this towards the end of the season, and he was like saying he wouldn't stand in anybody's way, whether they be a coach or whether they be a player, if they wanted to move. And I kind of felt, I'm going to be honest with you, at the time when I watched it, I kind of felt that there was a bit of a okay, I'm going to come out here defiant in the hope that I can keep him, but potentially if the right offer comes along that Mick Beale wants to move on and wants to be his own man, which, look, in fairness, every man should want to be their own man. Everybody should want to be their own man. He should take the opportunity if it comes to him, because they never come around. You'd always be able to filter back in at a coaching level again, but you might never get the opportunity to be a full-time team manager and to take your shot at it again. You just look at guys like Neil Critchley, who's at Blackpool, should I say. He took a shot at it. He had been Liverpool under 23s coach for quite a while, and then been with the Liverpool Academy, should I say, for quite a while, and he'd been 23s coach, I think, for about 2.5, maybe 3 years. And then he took the job at Blackpool, and he's made a go of it, and he looks like he's going to have a career in management at the Football League level for sure. So for somebody like Michael Beale, he wants to test himself, and he wants to go. Sorry, if he wants to test himself and he wants to go, should I say? Then I think he'll leave with Gerrard's blessing for sure. But I think that this writing has been on the wall. If we look back at it, that this potential is something that the club has known about and has probably been drawing up short lists and maybe contingency plans for, like, today won't be the first day that they would have known that they would have needed to potentially have a backup plan here.
Possibly, but for us, it's all a bit of a shock at the moment that we're looking at facing into the most important pre-season of the modern times, we'll call them, of Aston Villa. There's an awful lot of money gone behind this. There's an awful lot of money going to go into it over the summer. The fans have paid more money in their season tickets, which killed me to pay yesterday. So I'm definitely going back next year on my season tickets. But it's they're strange times, and it's all new ground for us as Villa fans to be in this kind of position. So to lose what potentially is the man who is the engine behind this coaching team, it is hurting a little bit at the moment for me, and I'm just a little bit apprehensive to where we go from here.
I'm not apprehensive at all. I'm not apprehensive in the slightest, to be honest with you, because we've sat here during the course of this season. For me, it would be immensely hypocritical of me to turn around and say, the wheels are falling off, shit's going to hit the fan, this is a disaster, Gerrard can't do fuck all without Mike Beale. It'd be absolutely hypocritical if I sat here and did this. And the reason being is because while I believe that it takes time to implement what they were doing during the course of this year, there were times where I called what they were doing this year into question. We were not a perfect entity from October on this year. And if Gerrard is the manager, and if somebody on the training ground is that guy in the training ground, and while I'm completely talking out of both sides of my mouth here, that Mike Beale is a brilliant manager, don't get me wrong here, but I think that the biggest thing for me here is, as you mentioned, getting somebody in early. So the fact that the trepidation and being anxious about it, I'm not anxious as long as they strike while the iron's hot, and that this gets done early. This is important. It's as important to get this done early, whether Mike Beale wants to stay or wants to go, as it is to get the likes of Diego Carlos in, to get the likes of Kamara in, to get the likes of Coutinho in. It's as important, because we want to have installation. Like, there's nobody in the training ground at the moment, so we're not going to be able to install anything at the minute. But from an installation of tactics and teamwork point of view, but we would need that man in place to hit the ground running straight away.
Of course. Ad makes a really good point here. In that Emi Martinez interview with Ben Foster, he said it was kind of weird. It was like they had two managers. So what happens going forward? There is an awful lot there. There's not a huge coaching ticket in the club. We've got guys that we don't know what their involvement is. That were kept on: Aaron Danks, Austin McPhee, Neil Cutler. Not guys we automatically want to see move on, but boys that could be moved on very easily. I tend to think we might see Aaron Danks go into the under-23s role or into some other role within the club. But I do believe that if we bring someone in, it can't be a Xabi Alonso. I think it needs to be a proven coach. It needs to be someone who's cut their teeth for a longer time than Xabi Alonso, and that's what's worrying me.
I did a bit of looking back to see who Steven Gerrard had played under, who his coaches were, X, Y, and Z, all this kind of stuff, to see if I could find, was there anybody he could come in that could be that old head. And then I stopped after I went back as far as, like, there was all this stuff going through my mind. Is he going to bring in Ashley Cole because he played with him at FC? All this mad stuff. And then I went, wait a minute, whoa. That's what Gary Mack is for. Gary Mack is there to be that steadying old head that he played with, that he trusts, that has that experience, that maybe wasn't able to cut it as a manager, but is a respected part of a backroom team and has been a respected part of a backroom team for multiple teams and multiple managers. So what I think is going to be important here is that Like, I'm going to be really honest. I barely knew about Mike Beale before he joined the club. As in, I'd heard of him through Rangers, through his time at Rangers with Steven Gerrard. But like, being really honest, there isn't an Aston Villa fan here that could 100% hand in heart say they knew Mike Beale inside out 2 years ago, 18 months ago. There just isn't. So what I'm trying to get at here is that I want him to stay. I'm playing real devil's advocate here before people to start wondering, has Neil turned heel on the podcast here, Mr. Positivity and Mr. Everyone is great at their job. I'm just playing devil's advocate here that there are coaches out there that are really well respected. Like, there's coaches like Aaron Danks is really well respected. I'm not quite sure if he's going to be here for the long road, but there are coaches here that are really, really well respected. There are coaches out there that we don't know of at all. That run under the radar and that may come in here. But as I say, the biggest thing here for me is that, number one, the best case scenario is Mike Beale stays. That Villa back up the Brinks truck and say to him, listen, don't go to QPR. QPR don't have the best history of treating their managers right since Tony Fernandez got them into the Premier League. They've been a bit of a dumpster fire. You're not going to be the guy to turn that around and get them back in the Premier League. Maybe he is, maybe he isn't. But Villa could go to him and say, listen, stay here. This is a project that you want to be involved with. And he may turn around and he may stay. That's my number one preference. I think everybody wants that. Everybody wants stability. My number two preference is that the club or that he or the QPR make a decision quickly so that he can go and we can replace him. That's my number two preference. And who we replace him with doesn't really bother. Like, I couldn't sit here. Not like with players, as you mentioned, Paddy. You know, there could be the best coach in the world that's out there that none of us have ever heard of that will come in here and will transform the club. And there might be a coach there that nobody has ever heard of that's had mediocre success somewhere and comes in here and finds success here with the players we have. And that's what you tend to find is that coaches coach really well with a certain group of players, and then they move on to their next project or onto the next team with another group of players. It doesn't go so well for them. You know, there's very few coaches that can come in and have longevity and continually, like managers can, but coaches, you'd see managers will bring different coaches with them as they move to different clubs. And it'll just be an interesting one, but I hope Mike Beale stays. And Michael's mad for that parking podcast. Michael Leaney says, I think parking facilities may have been an issue with Beale's departure. I told you. Yeah, he's mad for that parking podcast. But as I say, it will be interesting and we will be tracking this. I'm disappointed he's leaving. I'm going to be honest with you, and you can kind of maybe tell in my voice, but I just want the club to do something to either cut it and run at this stage or keep him here and make him an offer he can't refuse, one or the other. And we'll see what way that goes.
And that's it. I think we've probably said as much as we can now until we see whether he's actually going or not. You know, he could go down to talk to QPR and it just not work out because, you know, they don't strike me as somebody who would match his ambition. And that's the one thing that I'm holding on to, that he'll stay. Absolutely,
yeah, I hope so too. But in a kind of sadistic way, it will be exciting. And I've already been messaging the guys from the training ground guru to say, be on standby should I need to know who the hell is taking over as our new coach. Because if they don't know him, well, they will know him for absolutely 100% sure. They will definitely know who comes in as coach for us. And you never know, we might know because it could be an ex-player. It very easily could be an ex-player, or they could promote from within. Who knows? Maybe Sean Verity gets his chance. Maybe one of those coaches gets their chance. Who knows? But we won't know until the decision on Mick Beale leaving or staying is made by QPR, I suppose, really, or by Mick Beale himself. There's things in our control and there's things not in our control, and we just have to sit by. But I think that they will have made some sort of a deadline on this for it, and hopefully they have. Should I say that? Anything else going on in the world, Paddy, with Aston Villa? I think there was a rumour to Gareth Bale today. I'm going to file this one in under don't care. That's what I'm going to find that one in under.
Pinch of salt, I think, that one, yeah. Unless something bizarre is going on behind the scenes, but I just can't see how we would be able to afford his wages. But then again, I don't think anyone can afford the wages he'd be looking for someone who doesn't play as often as he used to. So who knows?
just wouldn't be for me. Like it's amazing. Like you look at his contributions and stuff like that. When he plays, he's still as good as not as electric as he was, but he still influences games as he used to. And even when he came back with Spurs, yeah, I know it took him time to hit the ground running, but to come back into the Premier League after essentially not really playing very much over a 2-year period is difficult. And we even saw it with Coutinho. He had good spells, he had bad spells during the course of his 4 months here. And we're hoping next season that he'll have that preseason behind to be able to hit the ground running and be able to move forward like that. But I just don't know. I don't even know, do we have a place for him? Do we have a place for Bale in the team? To me,
I think we find a place for him, all right. But the key
place.
Pardon?
I don't even know where we could find a place for him, to be honest with you. Like, because if we're signing him, we have to get rid of Emi Buendia. That is, like, he's going to play in that position behind the strikers. You'd have to imagine. We don't play with wingers. Just seems a really strange one.
Anyway, it was just a spurious link, so I don't know whether he'd be devoting much time to it, to be honest. But if it does happen, we'll be all over it, and I'm sure most people would be happy to see him come in. But the key thing is he needs to be playing ball to be consistent. So, as you rightly say, it would be hard to shoehorn him in there. Do you play him as a 10? Do you play him as a 9? I don't know. Do you play him as a left back?
I never thought of playing him as an out-and-out striker. I think if we're playing him as an out-and-out striker, you definitely have to play someone beside him. I just don't think, but based on the players that we have at the moment, I think you definitely have to play someone alongside him. It's an interesting one. For me, it's still a no. It's still a no. He's up there. He must be 33 years of age, I'd say, at this stage. Is he? Maybe I could be really.
I think he's 32. I think I heard today.
Yeah. And as you say, he's going to want the ones of $250,000 minimum, I would imagine.
And the rest, I'd imagine.
He
he's won 5 European Cups. It's outrageous, isn't it?
Yeah, like when he was on loan at Spurs, he scored 11 goals in 20 games.
It's not to be sniffed at it if we can afford it. It's not to be
sniffed. That's some going. Like that is some going to score 11 goals in 20 games. I just don't know where we'd fit him in, really. Like, as opposed to.
Jono doesn't believe that 11 goals in 20 games was good enough.
Yeah, I'm just looking at his Wikipedia here. It says 11 goals in 20 games, and for me, I'm fact checking myself at the moment. Yeah, he actually scored 16 goals in 34 appearances for Spurs last season. Or sorry, 2020-21. Yeah, last season.
Yeah.
That's pretty mad. I would never thought that in a million years.
No, it's just shy of 1 and 2. So how bad?
11 goals in the league, 5 in cups, and in 34 appearances, 16 goals.
And we're not getting that out of our strikers at the moment. So
yeah. But once again, I just don't even know where he fits in. We don't play with wingers. We just don't. If we did, you'd have to say, oh, absolutely, we'd sign him. But then again, signing Coutinho if we played with wingers wouldn't have made any sense either. So it's really kind of it's what's that phrase I'm looking for? It's all sixes, 2 3s and 1 6. What's the fifth? 6 of one, half a dozen of the other. That's what I'm looking for. That's the phrase I'm looking for. Yeah, it wouldn't really make any sense to me. But did you guys did I disappear on you guys there? Did you lose me? I lost you guys there. I know, that's all good. So if I didn't disappear off the screen, that's all good. But no, it was a bit of a spurious link, as you say. I don't think there's much in it. There's also been some links, Paddy, to like Robin Olsen hasn't fully signed.
No,
we don't need either Bale or Suarez, says Mr. Dolan. I don't think we might need them, but I think we're going to get one of them. I think one of them is going to sign. I think that's it. I just think the writing is on the wall for Suarez to sign. I think it is, and I think, look, we obviously have a manager that's been in Paris over the weekend. I would imagine he's gone on to his family holiday for a couple of weeks, maybe a couple of days, and then when he gets back to it, I would imagine that we would probably see movement on a couple of more outgoings and potentially some incomings as well. But Luis Suarez wishing Steven Gerrard a happy birthday yesterday on his Instagram. There's just things in it there. Look, I'm a hawk for all that kind of stuff. I'll definitely buy into all that kind of crack. But whether he does come or not, I don't know. I just always had a pin down in the back of my mind that Luis Suarez will probably rock up at Aston Villa for a year or two, and then now that the Las Vegas Villains is more or less a done deal in the MLS, that I would imagine that he'll rock over there and play over there till he's touching 40.
Chris has changed his mind there. He says
on Baylor Suarez. Yeah. I think that's the predominant. I think that's probably the predominant feeling. I think a lot of people don't want Baylor Suarez within the team, but I suppose we'll see what happens with that. Like, obviously, we're two lads here in Ireland. We have zero inside information. So if anybody thinks we're trying to allude to something that we can't say, who the hell would tell us anything? Is exactly what I'm getting. I just have this hunch that I've been saying it to Paddy for ages, since even before the January transfer window. I think Luis Suarez would leave Atletico and end up at Aston Villa with Steven Gerrard. So it was just something. So this is kind of an in-joke as well for myself and Paddy whenever Suarez comes up in conversation.
Well, I dumped everything out of my betting account onto Luis Suarez. I think that it's that much of a done deal. I thought it would have been done before holidays were taken at the weekend, but it wasn't. But that doesn't mean it's dead in the water. We've signed a player without him appearing in a short, and we found out today why he didn't appear in the short, because he's going to appear in a new Castore short in the next few weeks.
Is that Diego Carlos? Did we find that out today? Yeah. Oh, well, we found out what the new shirt is going to be. Yeah.
So everyone's wondering why he hasn't been, paraded out. It just came at the time that they were all going on holidays. He would have done his medical in Spain, we would imagine, or anywhere else for that matter. So it's just going to take a bit of time before we see him.
I love when PSK comes into the podcast. I love when PSK comes in there. Where is it? Rumours of the Beale coaching replacement is Garrity from Blackpool, another former Liverpool coach. Is that Sean Garrity? Is that his name? PSK, if you're let me Google there. This is the kind of hard hitting stuff that you guys come here for. Sean Garrity is a Canadian film director anyway, so it might not be that Sean Garrity. If it is, it'd be an interesting interest. I know that everybody wants to have a Netflix documentary about their team, but it would be really interesting to have your assistant manager as a Canadian film director. That would be for sure. But interesting. Mike Garrity. Interesting. More to be read on that. I don't know how true or not that is, but PSK has come up trumps in our comment sections from time to time. That's an interesting one. I will have to do my homework there as well. Paddy, before we get on to Castore, because I want to just keep all the transfer stuff wrapped up in a nice little bow. A couple of people asking for Ben Foster as number 2. Robin Olsen hasn't signed yet, which is a kind of a strange one considering that they started him last game of the season, and it should have just been more or less a case of we've signed him now, but it hasn't happened. I don't know. Are they is he out of contract?
I don't know if he's out of contract, but the only thing I will say is that's the first look in he got, and maybe in his time here he's realised that he's going to get very, very little game time. He'll play probably Carabao Cup. He'll play a bit in pre-season. But he's not getting in there unless Emmy's injured. He's not going to dethrone him from where he is. And, there's worse options out there than taking Ben Foster, who's basically a free signing as well. So it'll be an interesting few weeks. And I certainly wouldn't argue with Ben Foster coming in.
No, neither would I. Neither would I at all. I think an experienced number 2 is very important. Like Jed Steer, did his Achilles, he's probably not even going to be back before the start of the season. Sinisalo, you'd be nuts to go into a new season with just even though he's well thought of, with just Sinisalo on the bench if Robin Olsen doesn't come back. And there are some good veteran goalkeepers out there. Signing an English veteran goalkeeper could be good as well if we were to get him on maybe a 2-year contract, because when we're in Europe next year, we're going to need those English players for that European competition. Just like Man City are doing, and United did with Lee Camp. Was it Lee Camp or Lee Grant? I can't remember which one of the two that signed that United had on their books for like 3 or 4 years, just to have him there as an English qualified player so they could register him for a European competition. And like Man City have done through the years and are doing at the moment with Scott Carson.
Scott Carson,
so, yeah, it's an interesting one. It is definitely an interesting one. But like, as I say, I haven't seen it linked anywhere. I just think that it's, but it is an interesting prospect. It is an interesting prospect for sure.
And Olsen has his international career to consider. Did Sweden qualify for the World Cup? Can't remember.
Was Sweden not in our group? No, that was the Swedish women were in our group. Guys, I'm working off hardly no sleep today, so if I make only slight bits of sense, less than normal, I do apologize. But Castore, Paddy. Castore, the brand that have come from nowhere to take over the world. Like, only formed in something like 2016 or 2018, and already principal partners to McLaren, taking over the tennis world with Andy Murray and a couple of more people. I was only watching the French Open before I came in. I've been watching the French Open over the last week and a bit, and you see the Castore tops on some of the tennis players that are there. Obviously, they had Wolves and they had Newcastle, and now they're going to be the principal partner to Aston Villa on a multi-year deal, which I would hope and presume is pretty lucrative for the club itself, based on the big write-up that they gave it today on the website. Yeah, is it everybody wants someone like Adidas, everybody wants someone like Nike, everybody wants somebody who's been doing it for 20, 30, 40 years. I will be honest, I remember going on the fan forums more so really than Twitter, and nobody was happy. Like, everybody was giving out that Luke got it back in 2017. That seems to be brushed under the carpet. Luke has done the best jersey that I can remember in modern times for Aston Villa. I just thought it was absolutely fantastic. Based on what Castore have done previously and the mock-ups, I don't think we're going to reach those heights. But I suppose really when money talks, and
that's the key issue here. I don't think anybody is going to say, well, with the exception of those that are disappointed with Kappa. And while I was a little bit disappointed with Kappa and the sizing, I found the quality of their stuff quite good. I bought enough of it. So I for one haven't had any of the logos wash off, or maybe I just wash everything at the right temperature. I don't know. But look, it doesn't brim me with confidence that they're going to come out with these bangers of shorts. But let's be honest, if they just put out a claret short with blue sleeves and we get into Europe and their money helps us, I couldn't give a rat's arse. And that's been totally honest with you. The whole idea that everybody's cheering and wanting Adidas, I think that's one we need to hold in our locker. We're not dealing with mugs here. We're dealing with rich billionaires running the club. We're dealing with Porslow with the purse strings. These things will come with time. I have no doubt when that needs to be pulled, it will be Adidas that's in there, and that's how they will manage financial fair play in the future. And hopefully,
that's a good point, Paddy.
Yeah, so you have to keep these things in reserve, and we'll wait for the three. I believe it's a 3-year deal with Castore. So they haven't been.
Do you even know if that's how you pronounce it? Is it pronounced Castore or is it pronounced Castore?
Who cares?
Does anyone know how to pronounce it? Has anyone asked how it's pronounced? Damn.
I don't know. It just looks. Well, I've only ever heard it being called Castore. But like, there was a number of issues with when they took over the Rangers deal as well, where shorts were coming in with no Castore crest on them and stuff like that, and sent out weird jerseys that weren't actually the Rangers jersey. So, I'm sure they've got their their stuff together at this stage. You know, like that Newcastle jersey. I think it's awful looking. Whatever they did with the sponsor, it looks like there's a number 4 on the top of the
Yeah, I
shirt.
think that's just that's more so the limitations of
And
of
once
the
once you see that, you can't unsee it. You
yeah.
know, so yeah, there's things like that just annoy me with it. But to be honest, I'm not expecting a banger of a short. But you know, I really don't care what it looks like as long as we're playing well in it. It gets us up off our seats, and we score plenty of goals, and we shoot up that table. That is the reason they're there. They're there to bring in money. Money plays for the players that we're bringing in this summer.
Yeah, I agree, and yeah, as I say, you don't get any points for looking beautiful on the field. Much now as I would like to have a beautiful shirt. Like I didn't, but then again, I didn't like the shirt that we had this season. But literally, the first time I saw it on a player properly in the match, I went, "Oh, I like it. It's nice. It's really nice." Like that. There was the photo shoots that they had of this shirt for this year, where Jack Grealish was in the turnstile, or I think was he in the turnstile or somewhere where he had his feet up, and then John McGinn looked like he was leaning over a bar having a conversation at some stage, but he was leaning over a railing in Villa Park and stuff. And I didn't like the professional shots of it then, but then when you saw it on the field, I actually quite liked it. I actually really liked it this season's shirt. So I'll hold my powder on what the shirt is going to be like. And to be honest with you, as I say, if it's the shirt that we wear when we get into when we go up the league, or when we've got certain players playing for us, I'm not going to be too worried if it isn't the most beautiful shirt I've ever seen Aston Villa team wear, just at the moment, because I think, you know, it's time. We're at a very much a precipice here at the club at the moment, and I think they're going to need to take money. You know, we're spending money like drunken sailors over the last couple of summers, and we're able to afford it, and we're obviously circumnavigating FFP, and that's absolutely fine. I don't care what dirty tricks we do to circumnavigate FFP, because they're all at it. They're all at it. Anyone with money that is doing it. And you know, you either if you can't beat them, join them, I think. And there's no way you can beat them, the juggernaut of it at the moment. And if this is a deal whereby it's overinflated from Castore to get in with a team like Aston Villa, they will be the biggest club within England that they've done a jersey for. Cue all the Wolves fans and Newcastle fans now in the comments. But this will be the biggest, most historic club that they will have done a jersey for within the Premier League. So I can't imagine that they would have come cheap. And Paddy, they've got all their mistakes out the way with the Rangers jerseys and with the Wolves jerseys and with the Newcastle jerseys. Couldn't care less about those jerseys. Next year's a new year, and let's see what way they've got their production done. And you never know, a lot of people here as well aren't exactly too enamored with Fanatics and how Fanatics run the gear for Aston Villa at the moment. Maybe Castore take over that as well. I suppose I haven't read fully the whole press briefing this morning. I don't know whether Fanatics are still going to be involved. I personally never had any real problems with Fanatics, with Kitbag, with any of the subcontractors that are used to distribute, but I know that some people have, and I suppose it will be interesting to see that as well from a and look, let's call a spade as well here. For the portly man like myself, you can never get a large top or an extra large top anyway. Like, they're sold out after 2 weeks of the season. So maybe they'll get their quantities right. And maybe the sizings will be right as well, because yeah, it's that might be nice. So there could be hidden plus points to Castore coming in and taking over the shirt. But yeah, it was just something that dropped today, I think, and it's worth the fact that the club have now announced it. The cat's out of the bag, should I say, and I'm sure the financials on it will be pretty interesting to see as well, because you know, there would be no, I can imagine, you know, the Kappa would have been in the running as well. Maybe wanted to keep on the rights to do that, and if Castore are outbidding Kappa, well then so be it on our bottom line.
Mm-hmm. My only concern is that they seem to be fairly pricey with what they sell.
Yeah,
so
actually,
you know, there was a lot of complaints, especially from overseas, in like North Americans that had to pay $100 for a Villa shirt at the start of last season. They're probably going to pay more than that this year. So I don't imagine we're going to make much money on all of these shorts unless we're shooting up the league as we predict. But yeah,
I will come. We sign Bale and we sign Suarez. The amount of these shirts that will be in all over the world, Paddy. There won't be a child under the age of 15 in Wales that won't have an Aston Villa jersey on once we sign Bale. And that's where the lucrative market is, the hidden money in Wales. You heard it here first.
Yeah.
Paddy, let's talk about a bit of a season review. We said we come on here and we cut it at half an hour. We're 34 minutes in and we haven't even spoken about what we really wanted to speak about. But a season review. So let's start off, I suppose, with the defence. As I said, we're doing it in 3 different batches. Myself and Paddy are going to talk about the defence today. I think it was a tough year for our defence this year. Last year, I think it would have been one of the more steady, solid areas of our team, specifically at the start of the season. And when things were going right, we were holding teams to, we had a lot of clean sheets last season. We were holding very attacking teams. We were disciplined against them and stuff like that. And this year, it hasn't worked out as well as it did last season, Paddy. What's your overarching feeling on the defence? And obviously, we've had some reinforcement. We've had our reinforcement already. What's your overarching feeling on the defence? And was it a bit of a letdown for you, or was it what you expected this season?
Yeah, Mings, since he signed for Villa, for me has been incredible, but unfortunately still has that little mistake in his locker. It happens, and then we've seen in recent times, Konza's the same. Where we are in a great place is our 2 fullbacks. I think the acquisition of Luca Dean is absolutely huge for us. He's a huge step up from what we had. Matt Cash has grown into a world-class fullback. He's absolutely, the 2 fullbacks, I don't think there's any even discussion that they're going to be replaced or someone else come in above them next season. They're there. I think all the discussion is at centre half.
Yeah, and it goes to show that that's where the speculation is. Speculation is at centre half and potentially Calvin Bassey coming in to play left back, centre half. I genuinely, if Calvin Bassey signs for us, he will be left back option and he will be 4th choice centre half. I think at the moment he's not going to, like, if Calvin Bassey comes in, he's not going to be the guy that's going to usurp Tyrone Mings. He's just not. And Tyrone Mings ain't going anywhere this season either. Tyrone Mings is here unless there's a mega offer from Newcastle or someone like that. Once again, money will talk with that one. And I just don't see those offers coming in for him at the moment. He's out of the England squad. His stock is lower than it's been the last 4 years. You go on social media, everybody says Tyrone Mings isn't even related to a footballer, which is wrong, I think, which is wrong to say. I think he gets a lot of stick for other reasons. Yes, he does make mistakes, but he's still going to. I think he's still going to be on the team sheet come first game of the season. Tyrone Mings, and am I disappointed? No, I'm not. I'm not terribly disappointed because I think he's quite a good player who does make mistakes. That's a fair assessment of him.
Yeah, I wouldn't be disappointed either if he's still there. I like him. I like him as a leader. I like him as a person. I like him as a player. We've spent the last 3 Premier League years hoping that he would eradicate those mistakes out of his game, which hasn't happened. And unfortunately, those mistakes cost points, and that's what we have to think of going forward. And I think the key thing you said there, if an offer was to come in, I think it would be accepted. I think if a decent offer came in, it would be accepted.
Yeah, but
that's just my opinion. I think the trust is not completely there from the management team, and if a big enough deal came in, he will be gone.
Yeah, with this management team, I think you're right. I think what you say there is right. I also think, though, when you say an offer comes in, like, we're talking 40 million.
Well, maybe not. We're talking 30 million anyway. Before he would even be looked at, and I tend to think that if that offer came in, he would be taken. We would be let go, I should say.
And I think it'd be a fair price for him. I think you would have to consider that. I definitely think you would have to consider that if it was the case. But like, I'm okay with him sticking around next season. Tyrone Mings. I'm okay.
And when we talk about Tyrone Mings, somebody just asked a question there: Mings or Maguire? Give me Mings every day.
I think I'd take Mings too, and I know that might sound very hometown, but I think I'd nearly take Mings. I'd take Mings as well. I think
And don't
Maguire's
forget that
broken.
Man United paid nearly 80 million
Yeah,
for Harry Maguire, which is outrageous.
absolutely outrageous. Yeah, yeah, and isn't
Mm.
something that I would be comfortable with having on my CV if I was one of the money men or one of the scouts or whatever. But then again, look, I suppose Harry Maguire's gone on to have a fantastic career as well for himself. So in that aspect, it's something that they could probably stand over as well. But for the 26 million, we took a chance as well on Tyrone Mings. For 26
Yeah,
million, we took a chance on him, and he has repaid us because he's got us back into the Premier League.
absolutely. Yeah,
And I think and I think he stays around. But as you say, I think money talks, and when we talk about having to recoup money, and we've spoken about it previously, that it's a case whereby if an offer comes in for a player we think is replaceable for less money, then we would pull the trigger on that, I think, and let someone go. And I think 40 million is a fair price. I think it's probably over. I don't know, will we get an offer of that? Because I think teams would be wary of the whole feeling, the social media feeling around signing a player like Tyrone Mings for that big money. I think
yeah,
that Newcastle has seemed to have found a bazillion new social media fans who are very opinionated, and I don't think that they're I don't think that I could be nearly guaranteed that 99% of them have never seen Tyrone Mings more than 4 times in their lives,
mm,
but they've made a decision that he's crap. And I think that that certain clubs might stay away from him because of backlash based on social media, as opposed to
yeah,
what we see. And yes, he does good things, but yes, he can throw in a rick. And look, a lot of defenders that aren't in the top 4 teams, and some defenders that are in the top 4 teams do that as well.
yeah. And I don't want to seem unfair. We've seen Nakamba give the ball away that led to goals. We've seen McGinn give the ball away that led to goals. It can happen to anybody. It's just if you're that last line of defence, it's likely to happen that the goal is conceded when you make a mistake. Now, the man you have on screen, I believe, was a great partner for him. I saw them a couple of times in the flesh and was really impressed at how Callum Chambers was talking to Mings throughout the game. It was like as he was keeping him on his toes. And I was very underwhelmed when we signed Callum Chambers. It
You
was
were?
it was a nice one. It was a nice
I think
one to
everyone
bring
was.
in on a free transfer, but I think everybody was underwhelmed, and he hasn't let us down at all. And he's given us a couple of magic moments while he's been in there. He's had his ups and downs as well. He started that first 20 minutes he played at central midfield where he was like uh, full Hulk Hogan wrestling people to the ground. But
Yeah.
but he grew into that as well. And for a guy to come cold off the bench into those games, he hasn't let us down at all.
No, absolutely. And like, he played 13, you can see it there. He played 13 games last season, including the games he played for Arsenal. These are statistics over the course of the whole season. 11 starts. He averaged 78 minutes. Obviously, he's played a lot on the right hand side for Arsenal and more centre half for us. But he would have been tasked with, Matty Cash doesn't stay home, so he would have been tasked with getting very far out wide there as well.
Yeah,
So we can see his heat map there. But has some decent numbers. Pressure success rate is never going to be good for a centre half in Aston Villa because, as I say, it's you're there to block the ball as best you can, and you can see
that's it. You're
a
not diving in. You're not. Well, you shouldn't be diving in. So
well,
your pressure success is going to be low anyway.
yeah, and it's like, as I say, we're a contained defense, and we're a retreat defense whereby we protect our box and try and block them having shots inside the box, and if they want to have shots outside the box and score from there, we'll let more power to them. And we've been that defense since we've come into the Premier League. I don't know what it change under Gerrard when he gets his feet properly under the table, whoever is the coach this season. I don't know, will that change? It's going to be really interesting. It's a really interesting demographic of types of defenders he's looking to sign, as we said, with Diego Carlos is signed now, ball playing centre half, but and built like a brick shithouse as well. I think the Tarkovsky deal is probably more or less dead in the water now. It looks like it's kind of rumbled on for too long. But then again, as I said previously, our manager's in Paris. Manager, I'm sure, has gone on for some sun for the next week or so. And when he comes back, maybe he just doesn't want to, maybe they just don't want to announce it while So until Steven Gerrard comes back from holidays, that's quite a common thing to happen. You don't want to announce somebody coming in, 29-year-old James Tarkowski on a big contract, free transfer. I know he's not Fabio Cannavaro or whatever, but you still want to have the coach there holding the jersey beside him in Bodymore Heath. It's all part of the PR machine. So potentially that could be it. But for me, I think I don't think that one is going to happen now at this moment in time. But as I say, the world turns, and every day the world turns, something different can happen, and something matter happens every day. So as I say, we can only speak on what we know, what we feel, I suppose, as of the 31st of May today. But I think you mentioned something really interesting, Paddy, and really, really good. I was like, look at Luca Dean's heat map. It's just ridiculous. Like, it's just ridiculous. Like, it just goes to show how far up the field he played last season. Madness, absolute madness at times, but fun madness when he got up there, because he was very good in an attacking sense. Just sometimes we were left raw at the back without him up there. But 29 games played, 29 games started, 84 minutes. Obviously, taking into account his career at Everton too, where he fell out with the waiter there at Everton, and came in and I think was a breath of fresh air for Aston Villa. Not to say that Matty Targett was a bad player, don't get me wrong. I just think what Luca Dean gives you an attack is something to get really excited about next season, provided we can figure out how to defend and get more of a structure in midfield. I think Luca Dean could be a massive weapon for us next season, and he did prove it at times this season when I think he had more assists than any other defender in the Premier League. I think it was coming up to the last week of the season. Yeah, that statistic is correct. Or more shock creating actions or something like that came from Luca Dean. Passes as well, I think, was another one. I'm open to correction on that. So his end product is pretty decent. He was making chances when he was up there, and I think that's something that Steven Gerrard wants to use. Coupled as well with Matt Cash. Gosh, Freudian slip there. But with Matt Cash, there was talks today as well. I think there was something I read somewhere today that Atletico Madrid were willing to go really hard in on Matty Cash, but when he signed that contract, it was a case of, okay, we're not going to pile money in here on him, but they were willing to go to a pretty big transfer fee for him, but he'd made his feelings clear by signing that contract, which was great. I think it was really good to see that, because Matty Cash, once again, is somebody we're going to rely on an awful lot. And he's going to further his career, I think, in the coming season and push on again, because he's gone from strength to strength to strength. Even when you look back at his Nottingham Forest career, and also I never said it at the start of the podcast, congratulations to Nottingham Forest, and I hope they do well in the Premier League next season. I hope they stay up, and I hope they push on, just finish below us. And we never talk about Keenan Davis, which we might come back to before the end of the podcast. But Matty Cash has pushed on every year since he's made his debut at Nottingham Forest, and I don't expect him to take the foot off the pedal now that he's an international with Poland. I don't expect him to take his foot off the pedal at all. And someone that is like I think the interesting thing about our defense this season, Paddy, is that the individuals probably have been better than the sum of their parts, and that was probably the opposite last year. Last year, the sum of their parts were better than the individuals. And I think it's just kind of turned around. So finding that dichotomy, or finding that balancing point between, Matty Cash scoring 3 goals a season and us not conceding 48 goals or whatever, or 50 goals or whatever we conceded this season, I think that's going to be the balancing point.
And we haven't even really mentioned Konza, who I think we know at this stage is going to be here next season, because nobody's going to sign him in his current state, we shall say. And best wishes to him. I hope he wish him a speedy recovery, and I hope he comes back stronger and back to his old ways, because we always loved Ezri Konza on this podcast. He's always been phenomenal, but he lost his way a little bit this season, I feel.
Yes. I don't know. It's once again, it's an interesting one. I think the change of manager mid-season affected our defense more so than anything else. I think our midfield was stuttering. And spoiler alert, we're going to be doing the midfield tomorrow. But I think our midfield was stuttering under Smith, and it just never really massively improved under Gerrard. Because I think that he wanted to keep some familiarity in there as opposed to just blow up the midfield altogether with regards to spacing and tactics. But what he did worked in fits and starts. But I think our defence suffered the most. I think it suffered the most of any grouping this season, and hopefully they get back on track as well. Paddy, we left out somebody very important, somebody very close to my heart. We left him out, and Ashley Young. Let's not forget 24 games, 10 starts, 52 minutes per night, 52 minutes average. He averaged per 90 when he played, and as we can see there, you weren't running past him. If you were dribbling at him, he was tackling you, and you weren't dribbling past him. He didn't do anything else when he was playing there, playing at left back. He just didn't do anything else when he played back there. So that was always my issue. But it's, you know, if you dribbled at Ashley Young, he was able to tackle you, and he was nimble enough, and he had the athleticism to still be able to hold up people, and he didn't get dribbled past. And I think that's commendable as well. But you know, as we go into the next year, I would be hoping that somebody would be able to step up to maybe take that left back position, that second string left back position, from Ashley Young. Keep him around the squad. Don't get me wrong. You know, you're going to need old heads to gel squads. But Ashley Young did some very good things this season, and other things he was just non-existent in. But that's the go. Look, that's the type. He's what, 5'8", 5'9". He's not exactly the strongest man in the world. I wouldn't be expecting him to be winning any aerial duels, you know, things like that. So I suppose expectation based on what his skill set was, it's probably fair to say that he did what I would have expected him to do at left back. But I just want him to be replaced next season. I'm sorry. I just feel that we need a better backup left back. That's okay too.
I've stayed quiet and let you say it all. I agree, totally agree. But I do believe we're going to keep him on. I think
he's definitely staying.
Yeah. So I would just like him to see, you know. Well, to be honest, I don't know where I see him if he stays, other than in some kind of coaching role. I think that might be the best option. But you know, who knows? It's a strange old game, and you know, I didn't see him being bought as a left back or a replacement left back when he came in the first place. But look, he's a great servant. Great, obviously a great player. Has had a great career. He's at the back end of that now.
Absolutely, 100%.
So, I wouldn't go too hard on him, but I also don't want to see him at left back next season at all, if at all possible.
I think that's fair. Like, we put respect beside his name. Don't get us wrong. As Thibaut Courtois says, there's no respect beside my name in England. We're putting respect beside Ashley Young's name. We would just, for the sake of Aston Villa Football Club, I think a younger, sprightlier, and more dedicated, not dedicated is the wrong word, a more specialist left back waiting in the wings after Luca Dean, or if Luca Dean goes down, is something I would prefer myself. Which is interesting. He scored a cracking header, Ronan Ward says. Kick him in while he's down. He was for that header against Wolves, wasn't it? Yeah, that's one that I'd forgotten about, Ronan. You had to remind me. So I think the retooling of the defense has started. Obviously, we've got Diego Castore. I think it's going to be the end. I think we'll see one person come in. We didn't mention Ken Kessler-Hayden for a specific reason. We know he will be in and around the stable next season. This is more looking at a review of last season. We will, throughout the course of the off-season, be talking about what we have for next season. But at the moment, we didn't mention Ken Kessler-Hayden because he obviously was at loan last season, and he's somebody that I'm sure Steven Gerrard is going to be thrilled to see what he can do in the off season, specifically when he comes back to join.
And don't forget, he took him back in for a couple of weeks to have a look at him.
Did, yeah,
in the transfer window, and we've also got Freddie Gilbert who's out on loan, which I don't envisage we're going to see again next year. But there's options there. At backup right back, if he feels he has to send Kessler-Hayden out for another year, so be it. But he is the future, and we'll talk about that again, I'm sure.
Yeah. I actually completely forgot about Freddie Gilbert. Completely forgot all about him. Forgot he existed. The there's somebody whose stock has gone up since he went to League 1, and I'm sure that if they did want to recoup a handy 5 to 7 million somewhere along the line for him, I think that that would be feasible. Considering
Yeah.
he was knocking on the door for team of the season, I think in League 1 at one stage, because he was flying for Strasbourg.
It was. He did a load of man of the match awards.
Mm.
I saw him a couple of times. Look very, very solid. A little bit rash in attack, as we expect from him, from what we've seen. But I'd imagine we've probably seen the end of him.
Did he go out on loan before the season started, or was he on the bench for a couple of games at the start of the season? I can't remember.
Didn't he play against Barrow, or am I wrong?
I think he might have. Yeah,
I think he did. Yeah,
I couldn't remember whether he did or whether he didn't. Yeah, that's why I asked the question.
I'm fairly sure he played against Barrow.
Interesting. Yeah. I think
he scored a goal against Barrow. Did he?
Yeah, but if I can't remember whether he actually started the season with Aston Villa, I'm certainly not going to remember if he scored a goal for Barrow. But I liked Guilbert. I always loved the way that he was a strong tackler. You know, he was one of the few people who would leave a bit on you when Villa first came up to the Premier League, and I like that about him. Sometimes he was positionally completely AWOL, but like, you show me one of our fullbacks this season that hasn't been positionally AWOL at times as well, and I think that goes with the territory of being a fullback in such a fast league like the Premier League. If you are going to go forward, you know, there are going to be times where you're going to look like you're caught in your heels when you are to go back, and that's just an extra evil, I think, in the Premier League if you're going to play with attacking fullbacks. So I wouldn't kill him for that either. He
did score at Barrow. I've checked it.
Is he? Did he?
He did.
There we go. There we go. And yeah, as I say, he could be somebody that the club may look to recoup some money for. Because we do have a lot of players out that we could have a lot of these trickles of 5, 6, 7 million in for players like El Ghazi, Trezeguet. We mightn't think that they're worth very much to us at the moment, and a lot of people might think, oh, I don't know, we'll do well to get money for any of these guys. But there's always clubs out there that are willing to buy previous production. Like Trezeguet has massive there's still massive good feeling towards Trezeguet in places like Turkey and so on. He went out there on loan. Same with Anwar El Ghazi, same with Freddie Guilbert. So never underestimate the power of one of, I don't want to call them a fringe league or whatever, but maybe a league that isn't in the top 5 within Europe. And if there is spending power in there, you always tend to see that ex-Premier League players are well respected over there, maybe make moves there for money that we may not have expected. But I don't think either of those 3 players will be with the team next season. Trezeguet, Anwar El Ghazi, and Freddie Guilbert. But that's a lot of those are talking points for tomorrow and the day after, when we do get into the midfielders and more attacking players.
Absolutely.
Guys, it's 10:30. On a school night. So I don't really have much more to say about the defence, Paddy. Is there anything else that you just wanted to go through? Are we going to replace Emi Martinez next season?
No.
No, we are not. Absolutely.
No, we may as well bypass talking about goalkeepers, other than what we do for the reserve goalkeeper.
Absolutely.
Be that Robin Olsen or whoever they decide to sign.
Yeah, I think that's the case. Keenan Davis, that's who I wanted to talk about, Paddy, just because it was something in the news, and it looks like Villa have slapped what I'll do my reporting. Aston Villa have I can't speak today. Aston Villa have slapped a £15 million transfer tag on Nottingham Forest loanee Keenan Davis. It is thought that Steve Cooper is interested in the Aston Villa big man, but whether he will pay that £15 million is yet to be known. Back to you in the studio, Paddy. Do you think he's going to pay it? Do you think that's a mad fee? I think if we're getting 15 million for Keenan Davis, I think he's played well at Nottingham Forest, and if we were to bring him back, and much and all as we were Keenan Davis fans, I think you'd have to let him go and play at a club that have seemed to get the best out of him and take the 15 million, I think.
There was times this season where we could have done with him, as in we needed a big striker there that we didn't have, to go and chase a game, which didn't happen. But he goes with my best wishes. He's had an outstanding season for Notts Forest, And if they're willing to pay 15 million, I think that's 15 million profit too. So it's good business from us. If he fits into their system more than he fits into ours, I think yes, absolutely take his money.
I wonder, is there a massive sign-on clause for Biggleswade Town? I wonder, do they have a massive you never know. Like, 70%. I don't know. We could be hamstrung by that too.
I
But
wouldn't
that's
think so.
Remember, we signed him from Biggleswade Town.
Yeah.
Would have to go down, I suppose, as one of our better signings from non-league. Probably in the Premier League era. I would nearly go so far as this. I can't think of many others that would have had as many caps and many
And
appearances.
if he does go, he can't say he didn't get his chance. I think I read the other day he'd 70 odd appearances in the first team for Aston Villa. That's incredible. So Mr. Chukwuemeka, there is a way forward there if you get your head down and take your chance. He had ample chances, just couldn't buy a goal, unfortunately. But never let us down with his work rate for sure.
Paddy, if you can guess his exact amount of appearances and exact amount of goals, including cup, I will buy everybody in the comments a new Aston Villa Castore jersey, home, away, third, and both goalkeepers' jerseys. Everybody in the comments, I'll buy him.
78 appearances and 8 goals.
Oh, Jesus, you were close. 87 and 7. So 87 games and 7 goals, as per Wikipedia. Yeah. So, not the most prolific, but obviously, dealt with a lot of injuries. And that championship season he played under Steve Bruce, where he kind of shot to prominence, and he played a ton of games in a row, and we had no strikers. We were struggling for strikers. I think Indiana Vassilev and Everton played up top at times that season. He went out and he played alone he played 30 games that season and scored 3 goals. And I think of those 3 goals, I don't know, did he get 2 goals against Barnsley that season? 3 goals and 30 appearances in one season. So if he does goes with my blessing for sure. Ploughed alone was at a difficult time where we weren't very creative and sometimes had to come in and learn on the job. Sometimes had to come in and learn the job. And for a guy who came from Biggleswade Town, that's pretty a pretty good turnaround for him. Right, guys, that's going to do it. Going to leave it at that. We will be back again tomorrow with the midfield review and anything else that breaks between now and then. We will discuss that. I will have a guest tomorrow because Master Patrick here beside me is away for the evening, living his Jetstar rockstar lifestyle. So I will have a guest with me tomorrow to talk about the midfield region, and I hope you guys will all join us again because it's been mighty fun tonight. As always, hit the thumbs up button. If you're not subscribed, subscribe to the YouTube channel, subscribe to the audio podcast as well. I really, really appreciate it. And we're coming close to 3,000 subscribers. It's like we're not going to be rivaling PewDiePie or any of those big, massive YouTubers anytime soon, but it would be nice to break the 3K hump. If you know of anybody that you think might be interested in the podcast, please spread our name out there. It would be really, really nice to have more people commenting. I see there's some great crack going on in the comments here as well, and that's really heartwarming to see that you guys come in here and have a chat with yourselves as well as listen to us talking nonsense from time to time. But thanks so much, guys. Really appreciate it. We will be back again tomorrow, and until then, stay safe, stay healthy, and all that's left to say is up the Villa.
Up the Villa.